Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yater Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, The Forward Corporation, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Hammond Drives and Equipment, Garber Chevrolet, the West Branch Visitors Bureau, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Welcome to another edition of the Outdoor Magazine radio show here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network on more than 30 radio stations, and so glad to have you along with us as we continue to work our way through this springtime season. Now, I realize, depending on where you are, the calendar says springtime, but does Mother Nature say springtime in your backyard? As you look out the window right now, what do you see? Do you see springtime or do you see snow? We have been on kind of a weather roller coaster right now. As I'm here in the studio now and I look at the 5-day forecast, it looks like it's going to get a little warmer and a little wetter. And wouldn't that be, I got to be honest, the water levels are so low on the Great Lakes, the inland lakes, the pond behind our house. The water level is down. So I guess I wouldn't mind seeing a bunch of rain, but you would think with the cold temperatures and the ice that we had last winter and the snow levels, the snow that we had last winter, that they wouldn't be down to the extent that they are. The Great Lakes water levels are a very complicated issue, not one that I'm going to tell you I pretend to understand at all, other than the fact that there is a cycle. And apparently we're not on the good side of the cycle right now. Anyway, the month of April coming up now, as you're hearing this show, coming up in just a couple of days. What does that mean? It means it's time for a new license, right? April also means to me, trout season opens, right? I'm not a trout fisherman anymore, but boy, when I was a kid, the opener of trout season was a very, very special time. I wasn't turkey hunting back then. We didn't have turkeys, but we had trout. And Cedar Creek, and I'm going to call it Cedar Creek. Okay, I know it's creek. I'm going to call it crick. I grew up calling it Cedar Creek. I fished Cedar Creek, waded Cedar Creek, fished from the banks of Cedar Creek. I would ride my bike down to Cedar Creek and I would fish Cedar Creek. It was pretty cool to have a trout stream flowing right through town. And honestly, I could walk down there or ride my bike down there with a pair of hip boots. My dad wouldn't let me use waders when I was a kid. He said, you can get yourself in enough trouble with a pair of hip boots that you don't need waders. He said, I don't need you going in over your waist. Any fish you're going to catch, you can catch from shore or in your hip boots. And I get it now. He was a very smart man. Man, that was so cool. Night crawlers on a split shot above it a little bit. And drift that thing down through the holes. If I could get through the chubs, I could probably get into a little brookie. I think the size limit then was 7 inches. Maybe it still is. Not a lot of meat on a 7-inch brook trout, but we ate a lot of 7-inch brook trout. 8-inch, oh baby. And then the once every 2-year 9-inch brook trout. Oh, man, I thought I had a master angler fish. But April still is, and like so many things in our state now, because there are so many other fishing seasons, it's like deer season, right? The opening day of deer season, November 15th, is not the celebration that it used to be because of all the other early openers and bow season and all that other stuff. And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying that November 15th isn't really the first year that most Michigan deer hunters are in the woods like it used to be. Well, that Saturday opener for trout season is probably not what it used to be because there are so many other springtime fishing opportunities. Still, opener of trout season in April. Turkey season starts in April. That's the one I'm really jacked about, especially this year. This year, my goal is not to shoot a bird. What? What are you talking about, Avery? No. This year, my goal is to get my grandson Trent a bird Now, Trent's not a little kid. He's 23 years old, and he's a hardcore deer hunter, and he loves to fish, but he's just never had the opportunity until this year to get out turkey hunting. So Trent and I are going to team up this spring, and we're going to do our best to get him a bird. My buddy Scott says we can come out and hunt his place. Scott's got a lot of birds, so I'm thinking the odds are pretty good. That's where I shot my bird last spring, in fact, on the opening afternoon. Scott will go out there in the morning, and he'll shoot a bird. He shot a bird every opening morning on his property for something like 20 years. Well, then it's opened up to some of Scott's friends, and we will be out there, Trent and I. So that's my goal: try to get him a bird, to try to get him out there. You know, maybe our first hunt will be an afternoon hunt, but I would like him to have the experience of being out there in the morning in the turkey woods, watch the woods, listen to the woods come alive, watch the sun come up, hear that first gobble off in the distance. That's the addicting part of turkey hunting, in my mind, the interaction between the hunter and the bird. You hear that gobble, you let them fly down, you give them a little call, they gobble back, and then game on. To me, there's really nothing better in the outdoors than that. We will not do a run and gun, I don't think, even though I'm going to suggest it to Trent. He's more of a bow hunter. I'm going to suggest to him that he use a shotgun for this first hunt. Hey, it's hard enough to kill your first bird, let alone trying to kill your first bird with a bow. So I'm going to suggest he's hunting with a shotgun. Even so, I don't think we will be running and gunning. I think we'll set up in the blind over a decoy and just see if we can call him in. Anyway, I'm excited for this year's turkey season for that reason. And then April also means the beginning of morel season. Now, it's usually like right at the end of April in my part of the state where you start seeing morels. Into May in the North Country. But still, April does signify the start of morel season. Okay, what else does April mean? I mentioned earlier, you're going to need your new licenses. Your new fishing licenses, your new hunting licenses. There's been a lot of talk of license fee increases here in Michigan. We will see some kind of a license fee increase in Michigan. I'm pretty convinced of that. Okay, let's do a little history on this. The Michigan legislature in 2024 suggested a license fee increase. That didn't go anywhere. It got shot down. In 2025, our esteemed governess, suggested a license fee increase as part of her budget proposal, and it was about 40%. Republicans do not like that at all. Now, coming up in our second hour, Justin Tomei of MUCC will join me to talk more about this. We will see a license fee increase in Michigan. Is it going to happen in 2025? Probably not. 2026? Possibly. But more likely than not, the broad-based, across-the-board license fee increase, probably not until 2027. Now, there are some things behind the scenes at work that could move up that timetable in some areas. But it's too early to talk about those. But I'm keeping an eye on things in Lansing. What else? Springtime fishing now in full swing. Southern Lake Michigan coho. Detroit River, really crazy right now. Lake Erie, crazy right now. Saginaw Bay, pretty good right now. West Side Rivers for steelhead, pretty good right now. So there's a lot of springtime fishing going on. Some things to put on your calendar here. Our Wednesday night live at the Lumberjack Restaurant in the beautiful city of West Branch coming up April 23rd. We are filling up nicely, but we still have some openings. Call 989-343-0892 for reservations. 989-343-0892. If nobody answers, leave a message with your name, how many people in your party, and a phone number so they can call back and confirm. Also, the second annual Mike Avery Outdoors Charity Golf Outing. The website is now open, mucc.org/golf. It's on the MUCC website because we are raising funds to benefit MUCC's youth camp. Who's coming up on this week's show? After the break, Kyle Green of the Greenway Outdoors TV show, talking about an issue in southeast Michigan that the DNR has come up with to control the goose population. Now, you know I don't like geese. I'll tell you that right now. Geese are just big, dirty, giant flying rats, in my opinion. Well, having said that, the DNR has come up with a plan in southeast Michigan that's getting a lot of negative attention. Then Tom Campbell of Woods-n-Waternews. In our second hour, Paul Schalfley of Riverside Charters in Manistee talks about springtime steelhead fishing. Then Justin Tomei joins me to talk about license fee increases, bait licenses, and more. And then in our third hour, Captain Doug Ward on springtime fishing, including Detroit River fishing. Why does he go down there? What does he think of that fishery? And then we'll talk about his summertime fishing. He fishes the northern parts of Saginaw Bay, the outer bay near out of Au Gres. Interesting fishery, much different than my inner bay skinny water fishing. And of course, we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. My name is Mike Avery. This show is called Outdoor Magazine. My website is MikeAveryOutdoors.com, and my email address is mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com. I would love to hear from you. We'll take a break. When we come back, Kyle Green of the Greenway Outdoors TV show. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Alpena on WZTK. That's 105.7 FM. You can hear us in Flint on Sports Extra 1330 WTRX, and you can hear us north of the bridge in Marquette on WDMJ 1320 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by the Linwood Beach Marina and Campground. The docks are in the water, the ramps are open, and they're fishing out of Linwood Beach Marina. Check them out online at linwoodbeachmarina.com, or check them out in person in Linwood. Go to the end of Linwood Road, turn right, and you will find Linwood Beach Marina. If you need to get your boat ready for the water this summer, Linwood Beach can help you out. If you're looking for a place to camp this summer, if you are looking for a place to keep your boat this summer in a slip, check out Linwood Beach Marina. Again, they are in the perfect spot to take advantage of springtime and summertime Saginaw Bay walleye fishing. Check them out online, linwoodbeachmarina.com. Okay, so you know, if you've heard this show at all, that I was going to say I have a love-hate relationship with geese. No, I have a hate relationship with geese. I used to think of geese, I'm talking 10 years ago, 15 years ago, as these beautiful bird, this majestic bird that is so beautiful to see in flight. You love to hear the sound they make. Well, unless you live on the water, and I have a pond in the backyard. If you live on the water, you're going to likely have a different perception of geese, as I do. I now think of them as giant flying rats. I can't stand them. They are dirty, they are noisy, they are aggressive, and they are obnoxious. And I'm a little disappointed with every waterfowl hunter in Michigan that you didn't take more of them last fall. Having said that, I do agree that there is a correct way to address the problem, and then there's the way that the DNR is doing now in the southeast part of the state. Kyle Green of the Greenway Outdoors TV show first brought this to my attention. I wasn't aware of it. Now, Kyle is a guy I have much respect for. He's a young guy. He is a mover and shaker in the world of outdoor media. He has a show on History Channel promoting hunting, and he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Kyle, welcome back. How have you been?
I'm great, Mike. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It was wonderful to see you at a couple of events, including an appearance you made at a Midland Baptist church here in the town where I live a few weeks ago. It was nice to see you there. You did a wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
But what about this idea of geese and this thing that you brought up to me recently? What's going on? First of all, the backstory, the background.
Yeah, I'd love to give it to you. And I just did, just so everyone knows, I did a deep dive with Caitlin Barnes of the Department of Natural Resources, who's like the waterfowl biologist and kind of the leader in all the conversations that are going on about this. And in that conversation, I was able to get to the nitty-gritty of it. So in the past, what we've done is, if there's people that have problems with geese, whether it be on their private pond or their golf course or whatever area it might be, they might call the DNR and complain and say, hey, this is our issue. And the DNR would offer solutions. And those solutions would include, in some situations, relocation, where the DNR would come in, wrangle them all up, and then relocate them to a new area. Some of the other solutions included nest destruction, where they would actually destroy the eggs of the geese. And then now they've introduced a new policy where if those things don't seem to work for the people, they've stopped relocation. The reason why they stopped relocation is they claim is because of avian bird flu. I have an issue with that, and we had quite the debate and argument about that. I think that relocation is still good. Their argument is that the geese come back, but my argument is, and they don't want to move birds that might be sick, even though they don't test them and they have no idea whether they're sick or not, right? So they don't want to move birds from one area to another area 3 or 4 hours away because they might be transplanting sick birds. But my argument is that these birds fly and interact with each other all the time. So I don't think that that is spreading anything new or different because these birds are flying in and out all over the place all the time. And when I, as a goose hunter, set up a bunch of decoys, when geese see my decoys, they come in because they see other geese. So my argument is relocation is a good thing because let's say you've got a golf course in your backyard and you have a ordinance where you're not allowed to hunt. So you do a relocation. If you don't do the relocation and you leave the birds there, they will act as an attractant to other birds to come into that area. And if it's a good, freshly cut lawns and beautiful ponds, you're going to suck in geese like crazy if they see other geese in there. So I think that they're more likely to spread avian bird flu if they have it to geese that are just flying over their hotbed than if you moved them to another area that had good habitat, good water, and good food. And then their argument was they'll just come right back. I think that's ridiculous. I think as a goose hunter watching them, if you went up and wrangled 100 geese, let's say in Madison Heights, Michigan, and you took them up to Mesick, Michigan, 3.5, 4 hours away, and you let them go in a state game area where there wasn't a million other geese, there was plenty of food, plenty of water, and plenty of nesting habitat, you mean to tell me they're going to figure out when they were in an enclosed trailer driving there how to get back up and find their way back to that one place 3 hours away because it's so important to get there? I think that's ridiculous. So I think their argument for not wanting to transplant birds is flawed twofold, and that's why. So now they've switched to, okay, the last reserved option is if the nest destruction doesn't work, if putting up flashers, trying to allow hunting, whatever it might be, doesn't work, then they allow a organization to come in, wrangle up the geese. There's a few rules. They've got to be over 100 of them. So they wrangle up 100 geese, and then they usher them into a gas chamber, and then they gas them to death, which I don't believe is a beautiful thing. Geese are strong, resilient, tough. They can hold their breath for a long time. Getting them into the gas chamber is difficult. I think it's immoral. I think it's a disrespect to hunters who pay for hunting and fishing licenses that you're doing that to our resource. And then the sickest part of it all is they don't have a policy or a way in place yet that they can process and then donate the meat. So it's just as of now going to a landfill, which is offensive beyond belief to me. I think that we're all going to have to face for our sins one day when we go up to heaven. And I think that I would not want to be part of the team that determined a resource that was given to us by God for food, that and pillows, of course, too. They their down works for that too. But a resource given to us that we've opted that because they have annoyed people, we're going to kill them via gas chamber and then sling their bodies onto a landfill. I am positive that you will not want to be on that side of the conversation with God.
If you gas the geese, can they be used as food, or does that taint the meat?
So as of right now, and there's some controversy over this, over how they're doing it, they're using CO2. So the answer as of now would be yes, because CO2 is not going to harm you. However, there are veterinary groups that say CO2 is the best option, and there are veterinary groups that say there is no way on earth you should be using that. I am not educated enough, and I don't like to speak on things I'm not educated on. I'm not educated enough to make the call of whether that's the most humane way to do it or not. I don't think it should be done regardless. But the meat technically would be consumable, yes.
So since you have done such a good job of bringing this to light, is the DNR backing down on this, or are they going to continue?
So actually, I will say there'll be a podcast coming out on Monday that will be between me and the DNR, and the first hour and a half is about the most confrontational debate you will ever hear me in. You would have thought it was a political debate, and as of right now, they're digging in. They're digging in, but so am I, right? So I did put it on there hard at the end of it because here's the thing I'd like to note too. I'm a believer in the DNR, as I know you are, right? It's like I set up my entire career to get more people to buy hunting and fishing licenses because I believe in the North American conservation model where you buy your licenses, those funds go to conservation, and they help the species. And you and I, Mike, we work so hard in this state to get people to buy hunting and fishing licenses and inspire them to do that. But you and I have a special responsibility that if we're going to inspire people to get involved, we also have to hold the DNR accountable. I don't think that they're villains in this. I actually like Caitlin Barnes a lot. The second hour and a half of our podcast is beautiful and friendly and the way things should be. But I think it's our responsibility to hold them accountable when there's policies put in place that are unfair to the resources and unfair to the hunters who fund this conservation. We fund the Department of Natural Resources. As of now, they're digging in, but they also dug in a few years ago with transplanting birds, and now they won't do that. One of the things that we had talked about was how it was unfair to hunters. Okay, so if a hunter goes out today, if you and I might go out for a goose hunt today, we'll be put in handcuffs because it's out of season. If we go during the hunting season and we've got 4 shells in our gun, we'll be put in handcuffs because we're only allowed 3 shells. We don't have access to a lot of different places for hunting land that the DNR can go in and do these gassing programs or give permits to do these gassing programs or these nest destruction programs. We don't have access to those places as hunters. So they are operating under a complete different set of rules. On top of that, if you and I went out and shot geese and we threw them in a landfill, we'd get a big ticket for wanton waste. But they can do it. And I think we're getting into a situation where they're trying to solve a problem because they're having conflict with geese, as you so eloquently put in the beginning of your message here. People are having conflict with them, so they're trying to solve that for the people. But I think when you're trying to solve the problem, but you don't take morality into it, you end up with a result like this. On top of that, a lot of the fallback from the Department of Natural Resources is like, well, Fish and Wildlife won't let us extend our seasons. You know, we're at the max they'll let us. They won't let us extend our bag limits. But I kind of call BS on that because I asked her, I said, well, when's the last time you asked them? And she said a few years ago. I said, well, okay, well, hold on a second. You mean to tell me that you're willing, that Fish and Wildlife gave you permits to do these nest destructions and these and these gas chamber kills, but they're not willing to consider upping our bag limits in early season when we would be targeting these resident geese to 15 when they gave it to New York? We haven't knocked on that door first. Does that seem moral to you? So hunters are held accountable with all these rules and regulations. And like I said, today I'd be put in handcuffs if I went and did, a goose shoot to feed my family, but they can throw them in a landfill because they annoyed people. So the rules change for them. And I see a real issue with that. Now I will say this, Caitlin was very adamant. This is an absolutely last case resort and it's a pilot program and it's new. Well, pilot to me means let's see if it works. Well, pilot to me also means we can get this stopped. And that's my point on it too. And all of this comes back to land access issues.
Hold on, Kyle. We got a lot more to talk about. We're talking to Kyle Green of the Greenway Outdoors TV, the website greenwayoutdoors.com, greenwayoutdoors.com. I like the way Kyle thinks. I don't like geese, but I don't want to see him gassed either. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show to talk more about this and maybe some other options if we have time coming up right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Battle Creek on WBCK, that's 95.3 FM. You can hear us in Caro on two stations, WKYO 1360 AM and WIDL 92.1 FM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Escanaba on WCHT 600 AM 93.5 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Versa Skins. Just change your skin for the season you're in. Why buy a bunch of different sets of expensive sets of hunting clothes when you can buy one good quality set and snap on and zip on an outer shell of a different camo pattern, and you can do this in less than a minute. Check out the website, versaskins.com. That's versaskins.com. If you are if you need big sizes, right? If you're a big hunter, big guy, 4, 5, 6X, Versa Skins can help you out, and there are not a lot of companies that can do this. Or if you are a saddle hunter, Versa Skins makes jacket for saddle hunters as well. Two websites to check out, versaskins.com, versaskins.com, or go to amazon.com and do a search for Versa Skins brand. Michigan-based, family-owned. You know I love that Versa Skins. Just change your skin for the season you're in. Right now, I'm talking with another Michigan guy. He's really making an impact in the outdoor industry. I have so much respect for Kyle Green and the entire crew at Greenway Outdoors TV, the website Greenway Outdoors. Greenway Outdoors TV, let me check it here. Greenway Outdoors, the greenwayoutdoors.com, greenwayoutdoors.com. Kyle, sorry about that. But thank you for joining me. So you talked about this pilot program in southeast Michigan to round up geese, nuisance geese, and gas them and throw them in landfills. Is that happening now, or is it just a proposal?
So I actually pushed a little bit on that, and it sounds like this is a pilot program, and they technically haven't done any of that under this pilot program. But it seems as though, and I'm hearing from people, that this has been done before this pilot program was implemented. And I know it's been talked about for multiple years. And it's not actually just southeast Michigan. It's across Michigan. So that's an important point, too.
Thank you. As much as I don't like geese, as much as I don't like nuisance geese, and I have a battle with geese all the time with putting up a goose fence and scaring them out of the yard and putting out coyote decoys, it's kind of a running joke here on the show how much Avery hates geese and the battle with geese. Kyle, I don't want to see them rounded up and gassed and thrown in a landfill.
No, and I would even push back to anybody that is listening to this and they're like, it's no big deal, it's just geese. I think if they were there or they've had genuine interactions with geese like you and I have, and they saw what it took to get them into a box, because they're not exactly cooperative and their wingspans are as big as most people's arms. They are not cooperative. They're going to fight. Getting them in the box and then killing them that way, I think it would be a really terrible scene to be part of that. And that is something the Department of Natural Resources also agreed with me on when I talked to Caitlin. She's like, yeah, it would be horrendous to see. I mean, just horrendous. And I kind of talked about at the end there is land access, I believe, is our number one problem facing hunters. And I'll explain why. You know, I always talk about how I want to sell more hunting and fishing licenses to the youth because 60% are sold to white males over the age of 55. If we don't replace that demographic in the next 10 years, we'll lose 60% of funding. As soon as we don't need that funding, we don't need hunting rights. And we see that in states like California and New Jersey where those rights are slowly getting pulled away as hunters aren't participating. But at the same time, the hunters that are involved now are more involved, meaning like the guys that duck hunt now don't go 1 or 2 weekends a year. They go 15, they go 20, maybe not that many days, but they go as many days as they possibly can. So competition for land, competition for access, competition at managed waterfowl areas, competition, and this goes for deer, rabbit, everything, right? So I think the biggest problem is land access. And I'll give you an example. In Troy, Michigan, there's 2 golf courses, Sylvan Glen and Sanctuary Lake. A few years ago, the superintendent there wanted us to come out and shoot geese because they were having a goose problem. So we wanted to go out there and hunt them. It's the perfect situation, right? A golf course, are you kidding me? We'll go in the off season, nobody's there. They can shut down for a morning on a weekday, whatever it might be. So we're going to go out there and take care of the goose problem, harvest goose for food, everybody wins, get rid of the geese. Well, the city of Troy has an ordinance that doesn't allow gunfire, so we simply can't do it. So now they're fighting with their hands tied behind their back. So I think as hunters and as the Department of Natural Resources, the Department of Natural Resources needs to advocate for us, whether it be archery, whether it be hunting, whatever it might be. They need to advocate for us And we need to advocate for ourselves to open up these land opportunities so that we can harvest these things the way God intended and utilize the meat instead of chucking them into a landfill. And I can almost trace every problem that hunters have to land access. So that is my biggest concern. I think the biggest fight that the hunters will have to face beyond getting the youth involved. I think there has to be a two-prong approach. And it seems like everybody talks about the one, but the other second one, it's like a cringe topic because we know it's a more difficult one to solve.
Kyle, I appreciate what you're doing to promote hunting. I've spent a career doing this, but you are taking this to a different level. For example, your TV show is on the History Channel. Now, come on. I can't reach people that you are on the History Channel. Tell me more about this fight and how you're doing this on History Channel.
Yeah, it's like every episode, and thank you for that. We've looked up to you for many years, and you were a big inspiration for us to even get in this industry. And we always appreciate your kind words because they come from a place of massive success, but also integrity. So thank you. With the TV show itself, our goal is to have the highest production quality in the outdoor industry, create a great story every episode that includes a conservation message. So people outside of the hunting and fishing industry that watch the History Channel will see this, learn those lessons, and hopefully when hunting, fishing, conservation things go to the ballot box and they go to vote, maybe they won't go out and hunt, maybe they won't go out and buy a license, but at least they'll be inspired to understand our side of things.
Excellent. Kyle Green of Greenway Outdoors TV, the website greenwayoutdoors.com, thegreenwayoutdoors.com. We will stay in touch. We'll take a break. When we come back, Tom Campbell of Woods-n-Waternews right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sheboygan on Big Country Gold, WCBY, 1240 AM, 100.7 FM. You can hear us in Houghton Lake on the Twister, 92.1 WTWS. And you can hear us north of the bridge in the Sioux on WKNW, 1400 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Killer Food Plots, Michigan-based, family-owned. Again, this is a theme. It's a long-time theme. I love to work with Michigan-based, family-owned companies, and Killer Food Plots is one of those companies. Rich Krazan does a wonderful job. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but Rich and I are talking about a way to get the word out even more. He'll be on the radio show here in the next couple of weeks. You can count on that because the springtime food plot planting season is just around the corner. Check out their website, killerfoodplots.com. That's killerfoodplots.com. While you are online, check out or do a Google search. I always say go to woods-n-waternews.com. Tom Campbell says just do a Google search for Woods-n-Waternews. That's probably a better way of getting there. Tom Campbell of Woods-n-Waternews with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Tom, welcome back. How are you?
Just fine, Mike, but that memory's going, so that's why I do that Google search. I can't even remember our own website.
Well, do a Google search for Woods-n-Waternews. Tom, listen,
that's right.
You guys at Woods-n-Waternews have done such a wonderful job of promoting the outdoors for so many years. I just had in the previous segment, I had Kyle Green of the Greenway Outdoors. I look at you and I as old school outdoor media guys. I look at Kyle Green as one of the new guys coming along.
There you go.
And he's good for the future of hunting and fishing. But, man, you can't overlook what you guys have done for so many years.
Well, I appreciate that, Mike, and it goes to you, too, because you're doing a fantastic job. But, yeah, we sure do appreciate that. And actually, we're coming up on a 45th anniversary, or 40th anniversary, in a couple months. So it's kind of
40
appropriate.
years.
40 years ago, yeah.
And you still consider to be just, the big dog in print media. People look forward to your issues every month. How do you guys continue to come up with content? That's one of the questions people ask me, Tom.
It's incredible. I know, Mike, it's incredible. There's that old saying about there's only really 7 outdoor stories, but 2 billion rewrites of those 7 stories. So you're exactly right. It is tough. But things just keep changing, and we just roll with it. And there's always so much going on. And when you got a state like Michigan with such terrific outdoor opportunities, that pretty much makes it easier for us for sure. And we've talked before in the past about our writers in this state are just fantastic. We use freelance writers, and they do such a great job of keeping us informed, keeping us up to date, always giving us tactics and tips and what's happening out there right now. So, and our April issue is a testimonial to that, as it's full of great information.
April is a big month in the outdoors, as is every month here in Michigan, but April is a really special month. Tell me some of the stories in the April issue.
It is, Blake. It's a big turnover. Well, of course, in our fishing, we've made that transition from the ice fishing to open. So, we've got things, and there's some different things, too. People always think that, the Detroit River is just a jigging river, and that's what we do. Well, Mark Romanek's going to break that stereotype with cranking the Detroit River, using crankbaits on the Detroit River, and how successful they are. And he's got a great piece in there on that, as well as also some alternatives to jigging, different ways, different types, different methods of jigging, and he's covered that for us as well. On the same, we have Dave Minar got a real interesting piece, and you just wonder, why do worms work for bass? And he tries to explain that to us, and they do work, and we're going to keep using them, and he's got some ideas to do that. So, and we also cover what's happening in the news and the fishing. They're looking at slot limits for walleyes in the UP lakes. And Bill Ziegler, a former DNR fishery guy, he's covered that for us and give us some information on, does it work, when does it work, how does it work, and they'll find that in the April issue as well. And that's just the fishing part. And then we can go into our hunting. And, of course, Mike, we've got another big buck story in the April issue.
Of course you do.
It has a beautiful 19-point taken in Monroe County. And we've got a unique piece, too, where a Macomb County hunter, Thanksgiving morning, took a locked buck. A 12-point buck was locked with a 7-point buck. The 7-point buck was dead. And so this 12-point had been dragging around this 7-point buck dead. And a young man, it shows you how cruel Mother Nature can be at times. But he was fortunate enough to take the 12-point down and put it out of his agony as well, because it was suffering dearly too. So pretty unique situation. You don't see that a lot in the outdoors. And that's covered by Richard Smith, who did a great job on that piece.
Excellent, Tom. I will look for that story and more coming up in the April issue of Woods and Water News, woods-n-waternews.com, or do a Google search for Woods and Water News. Woods and Water, the premier outdoor publication of outdoors here in the great state of Michigan. We'll take a break when we come back in our next hour. Paul Schalfley of Riverside Charters in Manistee talking about springtime steelhead fishing. Justin Tomei, there's a lot of issues we're keeping an eye on out of Lansing, and that includes this week's Ask Avery segment. So that's coming up in hour 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine. All that and more this week on Outdoor Magazine.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yater Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Hammond Drives and Equipment, Garber Chevrolet, the West Branch Visitors Bureau, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is the big guy, Mike Avery. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome to our number 2 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, right here on the Outdoor Magazine Radio Network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And I say this every week. If you can, I think the best way to listen to this show is on your local radio station. Your local radio station has your local news, your local weather, your local sports, even your local commercials. Maybe there's a sale or something that you want to take advantage of. Also, your local radio stations will get the content of this show before the podcast version is uploaded, is dropped, as they say. I hate that word, but it dropped. Yes, the Outdoor Magazine radio show is available as a podcast if your local radio station doesn't carry all 3 hours of the show, or if you live in some part of our state not covered by the broadcast signal. So where do you hear? So first of all, what is the podcast, right? The podcast is the same content as the radio show, but it's made available at some other venue, some other way to hear the show. Your local radio stations carry the radio show. The podcast is available online and through many different sources, including my website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. It's on my Facebook page, and then it's on all of the other podcast outlets, including Audible, Amazon, LinkedIn, Apple Music, Google Play, iHeart, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher. It's even on YouTube. And then I also do podcasts each month for a couple of my advertising partners, including Offshore Tackle and AnglerQuest, QUEST, AnglerQuest Pontoons. Brad Dupuis, Mr. AnglerQuest, has often fished with the guy who is on hold right now, Paul Schalfley of Riverside Charters. Springtime steelheading in Michigan this is the season, right? End of March, early April, the time to get out and enjoy our steelhead fishing. Paul Schalfley of Riverside Charters in Manistee is a guy who has been doing this forever. He is generally thought of by everybody as one of the best captains, one of the best fishing guides, and one of the best captains on the west side of the state. And he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Paul, welcome back. How are you?
I'm good, buddy. Appreciate that. Yeah, doing good. Finally got a day where there's no wind today, so it's beautiful out here. Yeah, it's a little chilly, but not bad.
Yeah, Mother Nature's making you work for it this spring, isn't she?
Yeah, I've never seen wind like we've had this spring. Man, it's been crazy. Crazy winds, and very challenging to fish in.
Well, listen,
sure.
I know how winds affect you on the big lake, but what about there in the river, Paul? I would think you'd be protected. Why is wind a factor?
Oh, I mean, the kind of winds we're getting there, you can get away from the wind by certain spots, but you still got to deal with it, at cold temps, and it kind of makes it tough, when it's cold. It's not bad when it's warm, but you start getting in below freezing, it makes it kind of challenging, and try to stay warm, but yeah, I mean, you can't get out of it completely, that's for sure. You can somewhat, but you got to kind of pick your spots in the river to fish.
Well, Paul, as many years as you've been doing this, you know all the spots there in the river. I mean, is when you go out in the morning, do you say, okay, do you have a game plan? Here's where I'm going to go. Or do you play it by the seat of your pants as when you get on the water, you say, okay, it feels like I should do this?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, you fish every day, you kind of get a feeling for spots. I mean, of course, when you're fishing every day, you got spots that have been producing for you, so you kind of go to them first, and then go from there as the day goes. But a lot of it dictates in the water level, too, what the river's doing. Temp and water level dictate what spots I might fish, too. So I definitely, the water level has a lot to do with where I'm going to fish, what areas and whatnot, so. But, this time of year, this spring's been pretty, not too bad water levels. We haven't had a lot of times this time of year you got to deal with high water and, spring runoff and it's, makes it tough fishing sometimes. But this year it seems to be pretty stable, the river. So we haven't had the river blow out yet this year. So sometimes it gets really muddy and almost unfishable sometimes.
Yeah.
And you got to go up to the dam or where the fish are all at. But fish are kind of spread out this year, and there's good numbers of fish, good numbers of steelhead around, for sure.
You talk about water levels. I've been hearing actually there's a lot of concern that Great Lakes water levels are down this year.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Lake Michigan's way down. It's lowest I've seen, probably been quite a while since I've seen the levels like we got now. Been back to what it was probably about 15 years ago or so.
Wow.
And yeah, it's hopefully it doesn't keep going down, but looks like we got a lot of rain in the forecast, so that should help.
Well, yeah, that's what I was thinking. We had a lot of snow this winter. We had some pretty good ice cover. I was surprised to see these lake levels down to the extent that they are.
Yeah, it seemed like last fall it really started to drop. Everything last fall, it just kept going and going. And hopefully we'll get some rain and, get things stabilized, with the water levels. And, hopefully we get a kind of a wet spring, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Keep the lake levels at least at check.
So is it water? Is it water levels? Is it water temp? Is it water color? What are you most concerned with there on the river, Paul?
The color and the level. I mean, like I said, depending where you're fishing. I mean, if you get low, clear water, the fish are spookier, and a lot of times, they're in the deeper slots. But like this time of year, a lot of times you have to deal with real dirty water, so it makes it, challenging. Like you said, this year it hasn't been too bad, so it's kind of fished throughout the whole system this year.
And
so
you're
a lot of times, when you get high water, the fish will push up to the tippy dam, and fishing can be epic up there, and they've been doing really good up there already. It seems to be a good number of steelhead, around. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of fish up at Tippy. I don't fish up there a lot. I will occasionally, but
you're on the river this morning, right? Like right now as we're talking, right?
Yeah. Yep. I'm fishing I'm maneuvering a boat while we're talking here, so I'm trying to go past you.
Well, it's
been a good morning so far. We've hooked probably 7-8 fish.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, it's been pretty decent. Landed four nice ones. So, yeah, it's been good fishing. I'm happy with it for sure. And the day's young too, so we got a lot of fishing to do yet.
And I'm not looking for a honey hole, but what general stretch? And you're on the Big Manistee. What general stretch are you on this morning, Paul?
Me, I'm down like in the mid section of the river. Kind of lower mid. But I think, like I said, right now they're fishing the whole system. Right now, I think you can get them from top to bottom. I really do. I mean, the river's in good shape. And I know they've been catching them in Bear Creek good. I mean, there's still. I think you got opportunity about everywhere you go right now. Fish are all over the place.
Wow.
So, but yeah, I generally fish the mid stretch, lower stretch. But it just depends what the water's doing and whatnot. Boat pressure.
Yeah.
Has a lot to do with where I'm going to fish too. So, but yeah, it's been a good spring, and kind of getting ready to start going in the big water, really.
Oh, really? Oh, no kidding. Already? Well, it is April just about, I guess.
Try to target some browns, and you always get a few browns early. Ice out, and, Lakers and browns you'll get. They've been catching a few off the pier already, so. And a few steelheads. So we always generally will catch early ice out. You'll catch browns. Hopefully more this year than it has been. But I guess we'll see. I did catch a nice lake run brown yesterday, so there's a few around.
Huh.
So, but yeah, it's looking forward to this lake season coming up. Might be a little bit later year for the salmon. I mean, normally when we get a cold weather like this, probably won't be about middle of May till the salmon show up. That's usually about when the kings will show up. Last year they showed up early because we had that warm weather, warm spring.
Yeah.
No winter, so hopefully this year it'll it should be good because last year was really good fishing.
Well, I think it's interesting what you do. I can see why, you can fish for as many years as you have because the fact you've got the river and the big lake would help. When the day-to-day boredom of one sets in, you got the next season coming up where you're going to have a whole different set of a whole different scenario to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, there's always change of pace, and once the spring comes, I'm pretty much late around May, I'm focused on the big water, and I'll go right into about September, then switch to the river. So there's always something going on year round, really, and catching steelhead all winter. It's been good fishing all winter, so. It's a long season. It's a good fishery, really is.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. And the
Right.
steelhead numbers seem to be up. They seem to be better than we've had in the last few years. The numbers our numbers have been pretty good.
Hang
This
tight,
fall
Paul.
is really good.
Hey, Paul, I got to take a break. You've been on with me enough. You know how this works. We got to take a break. So you got 4 minutes now to maneuver the boat or get your guys set up or whatever. We're talking with Captain Paul Schalfley of Riverside Charters in Manistee. He's on the big Manistee this morning. Paul is, I don't know, I'm going to say he's a legend. I mean, I don't think that's an overstatement. Paul Schalfley is a legend on Lake Michigan. He's been doing this being charter captain, since he was a kid, and he continues today. The website is riversidecharters.com. That's riversidecharters.com. More with Paul after the break. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Houghton Lake on 98.5 WUPS. You can hear us in Ludington on News 97.98, 98.7 WLDN, and you can hear us north of the bridge in Newberry, WNBY, 1450 AM. I'm talking with Captain Paul Schalfley of Riverside Charters in Manistee. The website, riversidecharters.com, riversidecharters.com. Paul is fishing for steelhead in the big Manistee as we speak. And Paul, you say it's been a pretty good morning so far.
Yeah. Got landed 4. I think we've had 3 or 4 others on. So yeah, it's not too bad. I'll take it.
Where are you finding fish this morning? Are you finding them in runs or holes or what?
They're scattered about. I mean, just fishing the spots I fish pretty much every day, and catch them. They've been in kind of the lower, not the deep holes, kind of the shallower runs, to be honest with you. Haven't been in the deep spots, but just kind of my normal spots I fish every day. Just learn, fish the river every day. You learn what spots they produce.
Sure.
Go back to them day to day. So
are they spawning yet, Paul?
Yeah, I think they're just starting, and I did hit a couple fish on gravel. So they're starting. I mean, it's that time of year, we're almost 1st of April. It'll be definitely fish spawning. So, and I have caught a couple spawned out fish already. So there's definitely, we got one on.
You got off?
Bobber fishing.
Oh.
No, you might have missed him. I thought it might have been. That's right where I catch him.
How many times have you and I been talking on the air like this and you had a fish on, though? It's been more than once.
Oh, yeah. Okay. For sure. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
So you guys are using bobber? You're using bobbers today?
Yeah. Well, I ran some plug. We did get a couple. We got one on a plug. We're running plugs. Bobbers, I'm just running bobbers and spawn today. I haven't been fishing much beads lately, but it's been producing bobbers have been the best today for us. But, yeah, for sure. With spawn sacks.
Yeah, and is it steelhead spawn or is it salmon spawn?
Steelhead spawn. Yep. Just fish out of the fish I caught.
Gotcha. So
scrape it out and tie it up.
Does your presentation? Let me rephrase this. The people that you have in your boat on a given day, will that mandate or dictate how you fish based on their level of experience?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes it can be challenging. I mean, I got Dave today. He's a good fisherman. So, yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, plugs is the easiest way to fish with clients. I mean, if you get kids, sometimes younger kids, it's easier to fish plugs and throw them out there and fish hits it and grab them, hand them the rod or whatnot. But bobbers is definitely, you got to have more experience and a little bit more challenging as a guide.
Yeah.
Fishing bobbers, or, bottom bouncing too. We'll start fishing the gravel with bottom bounce for them, dragging bottom, with beads and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, sometimes if I got people that aren't really good fishermen, if they're biting plugs, I'll run plugs.
Sure,
for sure.
Sure. Now, are your clients? Do they go home with fish? Do you encourage them to let them all go back? How does that work, Paul?
Everybody's different. I mean, their limits for April 1st is going to one fish. So Like the guy I had yesterday, he didn't keep any. Actually, we haven't kept any today either, you know. So yeah, we're not, you know, most people, it's probably 50-50. Some people want to take some home to eat. Usually most guys anymore, they'll take one home and they're happy with that.
Yeah.
You know, just for, pick a nice chrome one. It's got really good meat in it and take that one home to eat.
Sure.
But
so I can actually hear the water lapping against the side of the boat. That's pretty cool.
yeah, it's a nice day out today. It's no wind. It's real quiet. Yeah, it's nice.
So when, Paul, you said you're getting ready, at least in the back of your mind, to head out to the big lake. How long before that happens now?
Well, I mean, I can take my riverboat right now. My riverboat can go out in the big water, and I'll take that out for early season browns. You know, if they're getting them, and usually it's right around the pier heads that are generally catching them. So I'll just fish troll around there, with high lead cores, 2-3 color leads with spoons, and then usually the kings will start showing up around that second week of May. So you'll start getting, the kings will show up, and usually just before Memorial Weekend, it's pretty much game on for us. Last year was a little earlier. Of course, down south, they get them before us generally. And this year, with this harder winter, I'm sure that, they're going to have a good spring down south for the salmon, and once things start warming up. But generally for us up here in our area, it's about the mid-May on, the kings will start to show up. And I'm really thinking it's going to be a good year just by seeing all the young fish we caught last spring.
Nice.
It was really good.
Do you get much?
A lot of fish.
Is there much of a ice out brown trout fishing? Is that fishery still there like it used to be?
A little bit. I mean, last year wasn't as good. I know some guys did pretty good, but it's kind of short-lived anymore. It seems like it's get them early and then it's kind of over with. But I don't know. It's one of them deals we keep hoping it's going to come back because it used to be one heck of a fishery. It was an awesome fishery, and it's there's a few. I've been hearing some caught, so it's every year's different. Hopefully it's a better year than last year, because last year wasn't that great for them. But the guys that did catch them, it was early, and after that it was pretty well done.
Do your browns out there, is that all natural reproduction, or do they get stocked?
No, we're stocked. Yeah, we don't. I don't think we get any natural on the browns. I mean, the steelhead we do for sure. The salmon, but the browns, I don't know what's going on with them. I mean, Wisconsin's got a really good fishery on them, and we just don't seem to have it nothing like what they have.
Well, I remember it's been several years ago now, but going out there early season with you, and we were in the big boat trolling those troughs for browns. And, we got one fish, Paul. I remember that thing. I remember that fish being 20 pounds. And you looked at it and said, yeah, that's a nice fish. I'm like, nice fish. That's the biggest brown trout I've ever seen in my life. So it used to be a heck of a fishery out there.
Oh, yeah, it was incredible. I mean, it was good. We had, caught 20-pound browns, not all the time, but you caught them, there were definitely some big ones caught, and remember Bud Rasky catching a 30-pounder, and of course the state record, world record came out of here,
Yeah.
I mean, there were some big brown trout around, and a lot of state records were broke, and, keep hoping the fishery's going to come back. And I seem to catch a lot of small browns last summer, around the pier heads, fishing for salmon. So kind of hoping the plant did all right. I don't know. We'll see, I guess.
I really like that early season brown trout fishery, though, because, a guy can get out there in a smaller boat. He doesn't have to have a big boat like your big summertime boat. You can get out there. If you pick your day, you can go out there with a small boat, troll in close where, you're pretty safe, and maybe get in some nice fish. I love fishing that time of year.
Yeah, it is. It's, it's close to shore, like you said, and they're great eating. That's what I like about them. They're great table fare fish for sure. One of my favorite. For a trout, they're probably one of the best for eating. So I'm trying to get this fish to come back, but he won't come back. Fish we just missed here.
So you think that was a fish?
But yeah, that was a fish. I'm pretty sure the one we just missed here. But he ain't coming back. A lot of times you miss them, they will not come back. It's weird. Sometimes they'll come back, though.
On the same drift?
I'll throw different stuff at them.
Will they come back on the same drift?
A lot of times, yeah, I'll get them the next drift, if I miss them like that. But lately, they don't seem, you miss them. It seems like they will not, I can't get them to come back. Just noticed that lately. You miss them, they just won't come back. Kind of weird.
How do they fight in the springtime compared to the fall?
In the water warms up, they fight great. It's just cold water. They don't fight as hard as, like in the fall where the water's warmer. They jump a lot more in the fall, in that warmer water. And I think as the water will warm up here, these fish will start fighting a lot harder, start jumping more. I know we had a couple warm days there, a couple weeks ago, or whatever it was. Fish were jumping and carrying, and the water warmed up, in almost to the 40s. It definitely makes a difference in their fight. When it's cold out, they don't fight as hard. But it's definitely the fall fish are probably more spunkier, but spunkier fish.
How much will the water temp of the river vary in a day? How much will it, if you get a bright sunny day, how much will it raise that water temp from the morning when you put in?
I mean, the highest I've seen it this year where I'm at is like 39. I mean, I've seen it, like probably 4 degrees. Seen it fluctuate. If you get a heavy, real warm day and sun out, yeah, it can see it go up to 4 or 5 degrees, and it could really turn them fish on. But right now we're still in cold water. It's been cold nights, and the water right now is 36 degrees. There's one right there. Speak out. There, got that fish to bite. Here you go. Hold on. Here, he's running. The jumper, Mike, he's going crazy. Yeah, we got that one. I've got lines. I got to move here.
Go ahead. I'm listening. Just talk us through it.
It's not real big, but he's a spunky one. Yeah, we got him. That's the one we missed. I knew it was a fish right there. But, yeah, it's probably about a 3-pound skipper. Real chrome one. Yep.
How many times has that happened?
He hit a plug. I threw a plug out there, and he hit it. That was the one we missed on a bobber. But, yeah, nice chrome one. I'll take a picture of him and show him to you.
Is he in the boat already?
Yeah, it's just about a 3-pounder. He was jumping though. I'll take a picture and send him see what we caught.
Yeah, do that. I love to see these pictures.
Yeah, it's a chrome one. Yeah.
Steelhead, right?
Yep.
Oh, how cool is that? See, Avery is good luck for you, Paul Schalfley.
Yeah, you always get them.
I know it. That's happened so many times.
I'll send that picture to you.
I'll look forward to that. Paul, I'm going to let you get back to fishing. When you can end a conversation with a fish on a line, that makes my day right there, buddy. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, Mike. Appreciate the call, buddy.
All right. Paul Schalfley of Riverside Charters in Manistee. Honestly, I think he's told me the story before. I think he started working as a first mate for somebody else when he was 13 years old or something. He got his captain's license as soon as he could, and he's been out there ever since. RiversideCharters.com is the website, RiversideCharters.com. Paul runs in the Manistee River in the fall, in the winter, and in the springtime. And then he jumps over to the Big Lake and fishes trout and salmon all summer long. If you want to book a trip with Paul, actually it gets kind of tough because a lot of his trips are repeat from people he's had year after year after year. But go to that website, RiversideCharters.com. You can see what Paul has available. If he's booked up when you're going to be in the area, he can recommend another captain in the area, and you're going to have a good trip either way. So I love it when Paul catches a fish on the air. Paul Schalfley, Riverside Charters, RiversideCharters.com. We'll take a break. When we come back, Justin Tomei of MUCC. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Holland on WHTC, 1450 AM, 99.7 FM. You can hear us in Muskegon on WKBZ, 1090 AM. And you can hear us north of the bridge in Manistee on WTIQ, 1490 AM, 95.3 FM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine, I'm just going to do this. Okay, you want to hear it again? Here's the sound again. You know what that is, right? That's the Rapid River knife coming out of my pocket and locking back open. This segment of Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Rapid River Knives. Go to their showroom on US 2 just east of Rapid River, or go to the website, rapidriverknifeworks.com. Use the promo code Avery10 to get 10% off on your order. By the way, there's still time to get in on the Rapid River Idaho Bear Hunt giveaway. Go to the website, rapidriverknifeworks.com. These knives are handmade by craftsmen in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, guaranteed for life. I've expanded my collection. I think I've got 4 or 5 of them now, rapidriverknifeworks.com. Let's turn our attention now to MUCC, Michigan United Conservation Clubs, a group I am a member of, a group that I support, wholeheartedly support. Don't always agree with them, right? It would be weird if I did always agree with a group that I was a member of. But I do support their efforts in promoting, conserving, and protecting conservation here in Michigan, hunting, fishing, shooting, and trapping. Justin Tomei is one of the lobbyists in that group, and he's a very, very good resource. And he's with us now on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Justin, welcome back.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
I'm doing great. Listen, there are some things going on in Lansing, or at least some things I hear some rumblings about. What are you guys working on now? What's going on now in Lansing?
Well, they're actually entering a bit of a lull. The legislature's about to go on spring break, so things are slowing down a little bit, but it's just we're still hearing about the license fees, the baiting license bill, a few other, kind of tertiary conservation issues that we're just kind of keeping an eye on for now.
All right, so let's talk about license fees. Are we it's
Sure.
too late to get an increase for this year, right?
Yeah. Even if something passed and the governor signed it tomorrow, honestly, it may not even go into effect until the 2027 license year, so April 1st, 27. Just because of the way that fiscal years and legislative rules and the license calendar works itself out.
So the governor may, in her proposed budget, she had a license fee increase in there, but that doesn't mean it's automatically going to happen.
No, yeah. So she had a license fee increase in there, and it roughly follows the numbers that the projections that the license fee proposal from last legislative session that died in December would have had. And yeah, just because she included it in her executive recommended budget does not mean that anything is set in stone, especially with divided government now.
What do you mean by that, divided government? Because she doesn't have the pull that she used to.
Yeah, Democrats have the Senate, Republicans have the House, so everything's going to be radically different than it's operated for the last 2 years. I don't want to say that she got a rubber stamp from her caucus, because she didn't, but things went a lot smoother through the legislature when Democrats controlled both houses and the governor's office.
Is it MUCC's position, or that a license fee of some type is warranted? A license fee increase?
And I say it that way. Yeah, I say kind of, because our policies, which are set by our membership, as you and your listeners know, is to find long-term funding mechanism for the department. We understand the need for the department to have some sort of pay raise. And so we support the idea in concept. Devil's always in the details, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a license fee increase. There could be general fund investment. There could be other user pay mechanisms. There could be tax increases, as some other states have done. So we're not married to the idea that it has to be a license fee, but that's just kind of the one that's been talked about the most, because it's probably the easiest and most politically feasible to accomplish. So yeah, we support the idea in concept, because the department needs a raise. They haven't got a raise in 10 years. The cost of fish food's gone up, and like 30 or 40%, something like that, since they got their last pay raise. The cost of wildlife division's tractor maintenance is like doubled or something. Like, it just everybody feels the increase in cost in their own lives, and the department's no different.
So would it be better, though, to institute or implement some kind of a plan where they get periodic, incremental, smaller increases rather than come back and try to hit everybody at once?
Yeah, I'm of the mind that if you don't have some sort of like permanent trigger in there to continually keep up with inflation, really, that the proposal we're just going to have to do this every 10 years. So the bill last year, and probably any future bills that do come out, will probably have a cost or a CPI adjustment to keep up with inflation. Functionally, what that would mean for the hunters is every 3-ish to maybe 4 years, your licenses will go up $1. So I would think that would be a little easier for hunters, anglers, and trappers to swallow than coming out every 10 years and doing a 40% increase, which is kind of the average increase that the department's bill had last year.
Justin, I have a few more questions for you. I got to take a break, though. Can you stick around for another segment?
Sure, absolutely.
Right, I appreciate that. Justin Tomei of MUCC, MUCC.org, MUCC.org. I would ask you to seriously consider becoming an MUCC member. There's strength in numbers. The more numbers that MUCC has as members, the more clout they have in Lansing. When they go to the legislature, when they go to the NRC, when they go to the governor, they say, look, we have this many members. There's strength in numbers. Also, I'll be honest with you. It costs to run an organization like MUCC, and they could use some help. As an individual member, I would encourage you to join as an individual member. $40 for membership, you get all the benefits. MUCC.org, MUCC.org. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Lansing on WILS 1320 AM. You can hear us in Manistee on WMLQ 97.7 FM. And you can hear us in Tawas on WIOS 1480 AM 106.9 FM. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by the good folks at Security Credit Union. Security Credit Union loves to work with outdoorsmen and women, and they can help you with your next outdoor adventure. Check them out online at securitycu.org. That's securitycu.org. The way the Ask Avery segment works is this is your chance to get involved in the content of the show. You can ask me a question, something I can answer directly, or something you want me to pass along to somebody else. The best way to get those questions to me is to send me an email, and that's what my buddy Brad Whiting did. He sent me an email to Mike at MikeAveryOutdoors.com. He says, "Good morning, big guy." He said, "I've been hearing rumblings of legalized baiting for deer in the Lower Peninsula again, possibly by permit. Are you hearing anything you can share at this time?" Well, yes, I am hearing some things, and Justin Tomei of MUCC is well aware of those rumblings, Justin. So I'll throw it to you as long as we've got you on the line here. What about baiting by permit? I know there's something in the works here. What's going on?
Yeah, so there's been a couple of bills introduced in the legislature that would create a baiting license that hunters could buy for varying fees. I think one's 15, one might be 20 or 30. That would allow you to bait. They also have different rules about how much bait you could use. But yeah, there are two different bills, 4191 in the House and Senate Bill 65 in the Senate. And, MUCC's position is still, of course, that we think baiting in the lower should be illegal as some amount of mitigation to human-caused transmission of wildlife diseases, specifically CWD and bovine tuberculosis. But they do exist. Those bills are a real thing that is out there right now.
Well, okay, so they're out there. So realistically, what are the chances either one of them is going to pass?
I wouldn't put any money on them. They both. I find it very unlikely that they will get through both chambers and through the governor's office and get signed. They may pass the House. The House version may pass because, the Republicans have the votes to do it. But I find it pretty unlikely that it's going to get any traction in the Senate whatsoever.
On the larger picture, the issue of the legislature, because the DNR is adamantly against baiting in the Lower Peninsula. So you've got the legislators wanting to do a legal end run on this whole thing. MUCC have any thoughts on this? Does Justin Tomei have any thoughts on this of legislators deciding things like this?
Justin Tomei doesn't, but MUCC does. We as a foundational cornerstone of the organization, we want game management decisions to be left in the hands of our biologists and the Natural Resources Commission. And the reason we want that is because we want to keep game management decisions and biological decisions as insulated as possible from political whims. Is it a perfect system? No, of course not. But we feel that the commission model of governance is the best way to protect these decisions from political influences.
Yeah, fair enough. Hey, listen, while I've got you on here, you heard me say that the Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by Security Credit Union. Let me tie a couple things together here. The second annual Mike Avery Outdoors Charity Golf Outing to benefit MUCC's Youth Camp is Friday, July 25th at the West Branch Country Club. Registration is now open at mucc.org/golf. Here's where I tie these things together. The Ask Avery segment is brought to you each week by the folks at Security Credit Union. Justin, I announced at the convention a couple of weeks ago, Security Credit Union has stepped up. They have come in as a top-tier sponsor of the golf outing this year. I think they're going to help really put this thing over the top. This is pretty exciting news, Justin, I think.
I think it's awesome. It's great that people are recognizing the good work that camp's doing, the good work that you did last year with the inaugural outing, which was a ton of fun. And now, with Security Credit Union and all of our other sponsors and attendees, it's going to be bigger and better this year.
I think so as well. Is it going to help your golf game, help my golf game? Maybe not, but it'll help raise funds.
No. Yep, it's going to be a good time. No, regardless of whatever else happens, we had fun last year, and I promise we're going to do it again this year.
Excellent. mucc.org/golf. And I'll give you one more chance, too, as long as we've got you. Put in a plug for membership, Justin.
Yeah, I mean, I know Mike has it in his commercials and when he does his lead-in, but the bigger number I get to go tell legislators when I'm talking to them about how many people support MUCC and our mission to conserve, protect, and enhance Michigan's natural resources and outdoor heritage, the stronger our argument is. So you can join at mucc.org, and, we'd love to have you.
And it's what, $40 for an individual membership?
35. You're overselling us.
Hey, kick in the extra $5. Give the folks a little extra thing. All right, Justin, always a pleasure. Thanks for helping me out, and you and I will be staying in touch. Justin Tomei of MUCC. Again, mucc.org. I thought it was $40. It's $35 to join. $35 to help defend and promote our way of lifestyle, our way of life. I think that's really something else. And again, if you want to support MUCC's Youth Camp and support the second annual Mike Avery Outdoors Charity Golf Outing, go to the website mucc.org/golf. Registration is now open. I've already registered one team, one foursome, and I think I've got another foursome I'm going to enter as well. You can do the same. It's Friday, July 25th at the West Branch Country Club. MUCC. Speaking of West Branch, we've got another Wednesday Night Live coming up in West Branch at the Forward Corporation Lumberjack Restaurant. 989-343-0892 for reservations. 989-343-0892. I would love to see you there. We got to take a break. When we come back in our third hour, Captain Doug Ward on springtime fishing, and we'll wrap it all up with wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar.
Time now for Michigan's #1 outdoor radio show, Mike Avery's Outdoor Magazine. Mike Avery has covered the outdoors in Michigan for more than 4 decades, and that tradition continues today. Outdoor Magazine is brought to you by Jay's Sporting Goods, the Yater Insurance Group, Angler Quest Pontoons, the Forward Corporation, Security Credit Union, Offshore Tackle, Hammond Drives and Equipment, Garber Chevrolet, the West Branch Visitors Bureau, Rapid River Knife Works, and by Michigan Brand Meats. Now, here's Mike Avery.
Indeed, this is Mike Avery, also known as the Big Guy. Thank you, Ken Hunter, for that introduction, and welcome. Welcome to hour number 3 of this week's Outdoor Magazine radio show, right here in the Outdoor Magazine radio network on more than 30 radio stations across the great state of Michigan. And so glad to have you along with me. You know, I've been doing this a long time. And one of the, I think there are several reasons for me being able to be here in this studio and do what I have for more than 4 decades, 40 years now. First one, and I'll be very honest with you, and I say that I think that I have been blessed by God. I think the TV show, I think the radio show, and I think that my efforts oftentimes get a little boost from a higher power, and I acknowledge that, and I I appreciate that very much. Also, the fact that I was lucky enough to be born here in this great state of Michigan. If I would have tried to do this in many other states, it just wouldn't have worked out. I have been very blessed to, and this has sometimes been by trial and error, right? But to find good companies to partner with, primarily Michigan-based, primarily family-owned. I love Michigan-based, family-owned companies that have been able to financially support this show for so many years. But also, I've been very lucky, very blessed to deal with good quality people. And the person I'm talking about right now is Captain Doug Ward of Xpress Fishing Charters, expressfishingcharters.com. Doug has been very generous in his support of the activities I've been involved in, whether it's been the charity golf outing for MUCC, that he donated a fishing trip for last year and has already in advance donated a trip for this year. Whether it was the Trinity Monitor, my church wild game dinner and auction, that I said, I reached out to Doug and I said, Doug, I need a salmon charter. And I know that you fish salmon on Lake Michigan in August. He says, don't worry about it. I'll donate a charter. See, I appreciate people like that who are willing to step up and volunteer their time and their efforts to support what they consider to be good charities. And so for me, that means a lot. So Charlie, let's bring Doug in here on the Outdoor Magazine phone line. Cap, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good morning, Mike. I'm great. And yourself?
I am doing wonderful. Let's talk a little bit about you, because I know I've had you on an Angler Quest podcast before, but I do not believe I've had you here on the radio show before. Who are you, Doug? How did you get to where you are today?
Oh boy, who am I? I was I'm a Big Rapids boy in the middle of the state. I grew up in Michigan here, and you know what? I don't want to regress back just a bit. You know, Mike, you said it. You know, the Lord's blessed us. You know, we're in a great spot. We're in Michigan. It's got everything, the hunting and fishing that we all grew up with, or that a lot of us were blessed enough to grow up with. You know, and then you said, you know, the Lord's put the right people or certain people, good people in your path. You know, and it's just I'm so fortunate that our paths cross through mutual friends in different ways, and I like to help out. You got a great thing going. You bring a lot of people together. So thank you for having me today. I appreciate it.
Well, and thank you for saying this. So we come from a same mindset here, and I think when people get together with the same mindset, that good things always happen. So, but you were a teacher, and now you're a charter captain. How did that all happen?
I got out of Ferris, and I went chasing money. I
Dogs.
left Michigan.
Dogs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, go Ferris. And I went to New Jersey. I went to Kansas. I went back to Indiana, and then I finally got back to home. And you don't realize what's here until you leave it. You know, not only Michigan but family as well. So we're here. We chased money. 12 years in industry, and then 25 years teaching. And now I'm on the charter boat, and I'm still teaching out every day out there on the boat when we're out there. So. It's just in the blood, and it's kind of what we do, just get people involved. So this is our 7th year of running the Walleye Xpress, and we've been blessed. We met a lot of people, and I never thought we'd be booked every day during the summertime and turning business away and being able to push them to other good charter captains out there. So we have been blessed, that's for sure.
I can't wait till the second part of our conversation to talk about your trolling for walleye in the Outer Bay, up around Au Gres. I used to fish that a lot. I haven't recently, but let's concentrate on something that is right in our time frame right now, and that is the Detroit River walleye fishery. And you decided last year to head down to Detroit and check out that fishery and run trips down there. So you're just getting ready to kick off your second season down there. Doug, what's that fishery like, and why did you decide to make that move?
Oh, that fishery is so much fun. You know, rod in hand is where it's at. We made the move. A lot of my clients were summertime folks because I was teaching, and so that summer really filled up. And I didn't have the springtime clients, so to expand the business and my time on the water, and I'd fished Detroit River before. I enjoy that down there so much. And so we decided to go down here and give it a run. I knew some guys that were down doing it. They talked about how much fun it was. And I had people asking about it while we were out on the boat in the summertime. And so we decided to go down and give it a run, and through some really good friends down there, some other captains that I knew, people are really willing to share information, and everybody wants to see everyone else catch fish. That's how we all succeed. So it was a pretty easy transition, just through good people and good equipment and being in the state of Michigan.
How do you approach a new body of water like that? I mean, you'd fished it before for fun. Now you're taking clients down there. It's a big body. I mean, it's a big river. It's deep. It's fast. There's a lot of current. It can be intimidating. How did you get started chartering down there? And what is that process like?
I really got started down there through the help of a great friend, Jerry Toner. She knows a lot of people down there. Her connections got me into Sinbad's, which is a great restaurant. They have a great marina there. And I got to meet a lot of the captains. Our mutual friend, Mark Pananziak, was in there with Real Fishing, and Adam Lipinski. And so Mark was a big instrument in this, and Jerry was big in this. When I looked at it in any big body of water, you don't look at it as the whole body of water. So I focused on the north end of the river where that was located. And once you start doing that, then you break it into smaller pieces. And with the help of those folks and with my fishing, my 30 years of fishing knowledge, we just put it together, and we had a really great season. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is truly. I feel like the Detroit River in the springtime is like the walleye capital, except for maybe the Maumee River. The Maumee River and Detroit River are like walleye central.
It really is. I've been down to Lake Erie and listened to the Ohio fishery biologist give the reports down there on the fishing education weekends that Lance Valentine does, and the community talk. And he said that at the high point of the spawn on the Detroit River, there could be as many fish as 1 million fish per mile in that river. So catching them is not difficult. Controlling the boat and the current, that's the hard part. A lot of other fishing around. The wind some days blows up, blows down the river. The watercolor changes, the clarity, the current, the weather, everything changes, and that's where the unpredictability of the river comes in. That boat control is the key.
Well, like you say, if there were no other boats around, you'd have your hands full. But when you look around and you're surrounded by dozens, if not hundreds of other boats, well, that's got to be a factor, isn't it?
That's a huge factor, especially this year. We've got the new 28-foot Kingfisher. I'm not able to get up on the nose of that, but I did put a 87-inch Minn Kota up there. And so I'm running all by remote, so I'm going to be standing in the back this year. And it's going to be a different beast. So a couple of days of practice on there. I went down in the fall with my dad for a day. And she's a different animal, especially with that wind. It was a nice windy day, and that's what I wanted to see last fall. It's definitely going to be doable, but I'm gonna need to spend a couple of days on there learning it. So.
You're going to jig off that 28-footer?
We are. It's a nice, deep boat. It's big in the back. I can run up to 6 guys. 4 is really comfortable. We put a gasoline heater in the cabin this year in the pilot house, so it's nice and warm tucked in there. And we're going to be able to stand in the middle and the back. And I'll be netting fish and running the boat while the guys are fishing and ladies are fishing on the side.
Doug, you're going to have your hands full.
We are. But, that's why we do it. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. When we talk about the fish are, rarely the key point. It's all about relationships and the people and being in the back instead of up on the nose with 1 or 2 people. I can be in the back with everybody. I'm really looking forward to that. I get to spend a little more time right in the middle of them and be a little more part of the stories in the back and the people and learning about them.
That is so cool because I was thinking, I knew you had that new big boat, and I was thinking he must have a riverboat he's stashed somewhere. He's no way he's gonna slip the current with that 28-footer and jig from that thing. But to hear that you're gonna do that, that's pretty cool. I can't wait to see the pictures. Doug, hang tight. We got to take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine show. We're talking with Captain Doug Ward of Xpress Fishing Charters. His website is expressfishingcharters.com. Expressfishingcharters.com. He's going to be down on the Detroit River this spring, drifting for walleye, jigging for walleye in the Detroit River. And then later, where I am fishing skinny water, right? Like the far south end of Saginaw Bay in 4 to 10 feet of water. Doug is in Gray. He's fishing 40 feet of crystal clear water. It's a whole different situation. We'll talk to him about that and more as we take a break and come back with Doug Ward right here on Outdoor Magazine. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show and port here on WPHM 1380 AM. You can hear us in St. Joe on WSJM 94.9 FM. And you can hear us in Traverse City, WTCM 580 AM. This segment of Outdoor Magazine brought to you by Hammond Drives and Equipment. Are you a farmer, contractor, landscaper, maintenance supervisor, anybody who needs hydraulic hoses and fittings? Well, Hammond Drives and Equipment can help you out. With more than 30 years in business, they have everything you need. Hoses, fittings, elbows, adapters for air, water, chemical, petroleum, hydraulic hoses. They're in Freeland, but they do business across the state. So stop by their showroom on M47. That's just north of town. Or go to their website, HammondEQP.com. That's HammondEQP.com. Or give them a call at 989-695-2239. Listen, if you need something to keep your business in business, check out Hammond Drives and Equipment. Also, check out Doug Ward, Walleye Express Fishing Charters, his website, expressfishingcharters.com, expressfishingcharters.com. We're talking with Doug right now. Doug, the season for you on the Detroit River is going to start, here in the next couple of weeks, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to start Tuesday and Wednesday here. I've got a couple trips on Erie out of Bowles here this weekend. Looks like we're going to have some rough weather down there. But, the river, actually, I can get my slip here in the next few days.
Then how long will you be on the river before you head back to the bay?
We're going to run through the middle of May this year. We're going to be down there 6 weeks. So.
Now, I'm not trying to get too much into your business here, but the logistics, you're moving down there for 6 weeks. Do you get an apartment? Do you rent a house? Do you stay on the boat or what?
Yeah, we have an apartment. Lance Valentine was nice enough to set me up with the guy that he rents from. And he's just a few blocks from Wyandotte Marina, where I'm going to be out of this year. Last year I was up north in Sinbad's, and now this year, to learn another part of the river, we're down the middle part of the river now in Mid-River. And it's just a few blocks from the house that we're staying at. So.
Well, that's got to be, in some ways, almost a culture shock from where you are up north in Eau Gray and then go down to Detroit. The fishery's different. The world is different. I mean, it's kind of cool, actually.
You're right. Everything's different. Right now I set 800 feet back off the road in some woods and some hay fields, and I watch the deer all around me and almost in a glass fish bowl back here. And I get down there, and I'm in an upstairs apartment in a house. And, boats everywhere and traffic everywhere. And it is a little bit of a culture shock, but, new experiences make us different. We grow from that.
I do love these urban fisheries, though. I love the fact that here in Michigan, we've got some great urban fisheries, whether it's steelhead in downtown Grand Rapids or walleye in downtown Detroit. Fisheries that are quality fisheries that are walkable distance to so many people. I love urban fisheries.
You wouldn't think of downtown Detroit as a backdrop for fish photos, but I got to tell you, I think a lot of people have made those Renaissance centers pretty famous with walleyes, those in the background and the fish in the foreground with their clients and customers.
I know.
It just makes a great backdrop, and you wouldn't expect it.
It's
actually our.
Go ahead, Doug. I'm sorry.
Our best day last year was on a 30-mile-an-hour wind. And all we could fish was right on the wall, right down through in front of the Renaissance Center. And we had 92 fish that day in 2 trips.
92 fish.
Who would have guessed?
That is crazy.
Just fun.
And the size of the fish out of the Detroit River are so impressive.
They are. And on that particular day, there were a number of those big girls that were right up there on that wall. There's some good gravel down through there. And it's no secret. I mean, we can talk about it. There's so many people that fish down through there, and it's just a good time. And the rod in hand to feel that thump. That's why folks come to the Detroit River.
So again, going back to jigging off that big boat, that big 28-footer, you got a great big electric bow mount. Is that how you're going to control this thing?
It is. Yes. Yep. She's it's standard 112 volt or 112 pound thrust, 36 volt. I run my Dakota lithium batteries on that, and she's got a lot of torque. She's got a lot of push. So being an aluminum boat, it actually weighs. Last year I was on the river, my 238 Warrior that I had at that time, and it actually weighs about the same. It just sits, and it sits about the same. It's just got that pilot house on there that's going to catch a little more wind.
Yeah.
And being 5 foot longer, she's a big sail. So we'll have our hands full with it, but I know we can get her done.
And that pilot house will be nice, though, to let your people get out of the wind on a cold day, take a little break and warm up.
It is, and even for the captain, he'll duck in there and warm his hands a little bit. So you betcha.
All right, so let's talk about, we're going to look several weeks, a couple of months here down the future to the summertime. And you and I have talked about this before off air, but I find it very interesting on Saginaw Bay, for example, that I'm fishing the far south end of the bay, and I'm fishing fish that are as skinny as I can possibly fish them. And at the same time, I mean, it might be the same morning, you are fishing au gray in 40 feet of crystal clear water. We're after the same fish, but it's like two different fisheries.
You know what it is? And walleye's a walleye. And I got to let you in on a little bit of a secret. I fish a lot of shallow water up there too. I'm still banging some 4 to 8 foot water, especially springtime. And because of springtime, the smelts are coming up around the shores. Other fish are coming in there spawn, and they're looking for those. They're hungry, and they're looking for those small fish, and those small fish are looking for warm water. And when we get a sunny day, and those shallows warm fast, those minnows are in there, and then guess what? Those walters are in there. We do fish the deep water once the waters warm up, or if it gets very, very clear. Once we're past the springtime and into the summer, we're out there in that 42 to, I think the deepest I've seen out there is about 49 feet out there in the shipping channel. And that water gets very clear. So good electronics, a good setup and being able to adjust those and read those, that's key out there in that deep water. It really is. You
mentioned smelt. Do you get much of a smelt run at all around au gray anymore?
I don't see it up there. I'm not there in the springtime to dip them because we're down there at the river. But yes, there's quite a run that comes up around the bay, and most of that is out further in the bay, even further than where I'm at. The old infamous Singing Bridge there.
Sure.
But yeah, there's quite a run. And the neat thing is if you get out in that part in the springtime, now you just don't know what you're going to catch, with a steelhead or brown trout or coho or lake trout or walleye. It's a pretty mixed bag out there.
Are you, summertime fishing, are you always trolling, or are you casting and jigging and doing those experiments too that some of the guys on the Inner Bay are doing?
We're doing that all on one trip while we troll. So I'll run a forward-facing sonar actually back as we troll along. I run down rods on my back corner so we can watch those down rods with, and I say a down rod, I run a 6 or 8 ounce bottom bouncer depending on how deep we're in, right in the same spread with my crankbaits. And we can really fine tune that depth. And I don't use my forward-facing sonar so much. I say, like to cast at fish or target them, but I watch it to see what they're doing, how they're reacting to if I have a crawler on the down rod or my first couple crankbaits, I can see if fish are coming up to them and looking at them. If they're not responding, obviously we'll change our speed first. Speed up, slow down, zigzag. If that doesn't work, then we'll start looking at different colors and things. But, it offers a big insight as to what the fish are feeling for the day, how they're acting to our presentation. And that's why we really use that forward-facing sonar out there.
Wow.
We do offer some casting because that's my favorite thing to do. I love to feel that thump. I like to throw out there. And then I can see that jig back there sometimes 120 feet. If I drop a jig out the back of the boat, I can see that jig back there. I can see fish out to it. Whether they're up high, whether they're down low, and you can kind of get it in your nose to see how they're going to react. So that's a lot of fun. It gives clients something to do if the rods are a little slow on a troll. So just some different things that we can offer, and it keeps me busy too.
Wow. So I want to make sure I understand this. You got forward-facing sonar, but you're actually facing it backwards.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so you're facing it back into your spread. Okay.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely.
I would suspect then, because I know later in the summer you jump over to Lake Michigan and run salmon charters. I bet you do the same thing with your salmon spreads.
Oh, geez, Mike, you're giving away all our secrets.
You don't have any secrets.
Yes,
you tell everybody everything.
Yeah,
I know
you don't
you
have
do.
any secrets. You know, I'm terrible about secrets. There's so many fish out there. I want other people to catch fish, and other charter captains and guys that come over fun fishing for the weekend and want everybody to catch fish. So, I give away all the secrets. There's no secrets. But.
And listen, it's kind of a related thing. How does any captain, but I'm talking to you in particular, you know, people pay to fish with you. They come out, you show them your best way to catch fish. You show them your best areas. So then they come out the next day in their boat and they're trolling alongside of you. Is there a moral issue to this at all, or is this just part of the way it is?
No, that's just part of the way it is. You know what? And I have people call quite often. You know, hey Doug, where are you at? You know, and I'll tell them where I'm at and what we're doing. You know, I just ask them, if you see me, give me a little space. That's all. There's so many fish out there. I mean, you know, we're looking for a few. They're looking for a few. But you know, it comes full circle. It really does. And I found, you know, that when I share with other guys, they share with me. And there's, you know, there may be someday I need to knock on that door myself. So I want to keep that open and share. I've been. If it's my information to share, then I'll share it. If it's not, then I won't. But you know,
I think
if someone's been kind enough to give me some information, I'll keep that to myself.
Yep.
But if it's mine, I'm more than happy to share.
Real quick before we let you go, networking is a big thing among charter captains and even weekend warriors. I mean, if you got people on the water who you can work together with, that can save you a lot of time, can't it?
It does. It saves a lot of time, you know, to get in that general area. You know, we all like to see each other catch fish. The clients are happy. We're happy. It's better for the sport. It's better for the industry. You know, and I've said it before, it's rarely about the fish. It's easy to say that if you've got a cooler or a locker full of fish. But, you know, even if the fish, and we can't control that, you know, and you said, you know, that, you know, you take them to your best spots. You know, we've got a number of spots depending on whether it's early March, you know, and the ice is off, or whether it's November just before the ice up. I mean, we can put you pretty much anywhere on the bay where, you know, I know where those fish are going to be, you know, over this time and this long doing it. But it all comes back to the people that are on the boat and having a great day with them. Catching fish isn't the tough part. The tough part's maintaining those relationships and keeping that open dialogue and getting people involved on the boat.
There you go, Doug. Hey, listen, I could not agree more, but I have to let you go because I'm out of time. Just know, Doug, that you have much respect from me. Doug Ward of Walleye Express Charters, the website expressfishingcharters.com, expressfishingcharters.com, Detroit River walleye, Saginaw Bay walleye, Lake Michigan salmon. Doug's your guy. You can hear the Outdoor Magazine show in Sandusky on WMIC, 660 AM, 95.3 FM. You can hear us in Iron Mountain, WMIQ, 1450 AM. How about, I think the only ones left, WSGW, which is appropriate because I'm in the studios of WSGW right now. You can hear us in Saginaw on WSGW 790 AM, 100.5 FM. I'm here with Charlie Rude, and you know what that means. Charlie. Young Jonathan Dent was in here for the first 2 hours of the show. And he left, and Charlie walked in, and Charlie now gets all the glory because the sun is shining, so there's actually a whole bunch of people out in the parking lot. Families even, because it's a little bit warmer today. Families even holding signs saying, "We love you, Charlie," and they're chanting, "Charlie, Charlie." See, that's what you get when you're in broadcasting for so many years, Charlie. John Dent will get there. He will. But only you, Charlie, are there now. The segment of Outdoor Magazine, every time I do that, I just have to smile. Brought to you by Reader Landscaping. Reader can take care of your lawn and property because it's your nature and our nurture. Let Reader create an outdoor getaway in your backyard. And you know what? even though the weather hasn't been real cooperative lately, it's been kind of cold and a little snowy even, it is the time of year to start thinking about spring cleanup. I know you could go out and clean up your own yard. Let me rephrase. I could go out and clean up my own yard. Of course I could. I am physically able to. I could do it. But why not just sit back and watch a crew of like three young reader guys come in, knock that yard out in no time, and be done with it? Every hour that they are there is another hour that I could spend doing something else. I'll rephrase that. Because they come in with 3 people, right? It's like I get 3 times the work out of them. And they've always done a great job. They are very conscientious. Now, I still do my mowing in the summertime because I like the exercise there, but pretty much everything else we farmed out to Reader. I would encourage you to take a look at it. And if you have a project scheduled for this summer, and actually, as I think about it, this is the first summer we don't have a bigger project scheduled for landscaping or something. But believe me, there will be other projects around the Avery house. If you want to get on their list for projects for landscaping, a pool, patio, backyard, whatever, check them out now. Get in touch now. ReaderLandscaping.com is the website, ReaderLandscaping.com. Oh, what else? I enjoyed the conversation with Doug Ward. He's just a really nice guy. But, I've enjoyed the conversations with everybody this week. As I said in the introduction to Doug, to work with good people and surround yourself with good people makes life easier. That we've all had situations where you're forced to, come on, be honest. You're forced to work with people who really wouldn't be your friends outside of work. I get that. And you just make the most of it, and you are a professional and you get your work done. But when you can work with people who you genuinely like and would spend time with off the job, it makes things easier. And I've had the opportunity over the years and still have today to be able to align myself with what I think are good people. People that I work with on the advertising end of things and on the production side of things here in the studio and guests on the show too. Am I personally friends with every guest I have on the show? Of course not. But I do know a lot of them, and I know them because of their expertise in the outdoor world. And I will not hesitate. I'll say this. I've said this 100 times, and I'll say it probably another 50 before I'm done with this. I'm not an expert. I am not an expert in anything. I learned a long time ago that the minute you put the expert label on yourself, you become a target. And I don't want that. I don't want that. So I am not an expert in anything. Any knowledge I do have in either the area of broadcasting or communication or marketing is minimal. And when it comes to the outdoors, I'm not an expert hunter. I'm not an expert angler. I'm not. There's a lot of people out there that catch a lot more fish than I do, who spend a lot more time out there than I do. Tons and tons of people who are better hunters than I am. I've never said I was a great hunter. I'm not. But I am a passionate participant and a long-time participant. I've been doing a lot of these things a long time. And over that period of time, just because you continue to do it, you do develop some level of skill. In my case, not expert level at all. Because I'll be honest with you, when I go out hunting or fishing, I am not as dialed in as I should be. I don't pay as much attention to the subtleties and nuances of what Mother Nature is trying to tell me. She will tell you what she's looking for if you listen. But a lot of times I go out there and I'm like, la-di-da-di-da, I'm just out here to enjoy myself. And I don't listen. And as a result, I may not have the success, if you define success in harvesting things and bringing things home, that some other people do. But you know what? Nobody enjoys it more. And that's why I enjoy this outdoor lifestyle. It is what you want it to be. You can be as hardcore and intense and deliberate and specific and detailed as you want to be. Or you can go out there, kick your feet up, have a good time, just enjoy the situation. It's what you want it to be, and I love that. We'll take a break here in the Outdoor Magazine Show. When we come back, we'll wrap it all up with another expert This one, an expert at wild game cooking. His name is Chef Dixie Dave Minar. You know that by now. I don't know what Dave has. I think it's one last small game recipe, and then we'll switch over to fish. But we'll find out after the break right here on Outdoor Magazine. Welcome back to Outdoor Magazine. During the break, Charlie and I were talking about the state of radio today. And it's pretty solid, Charlie. It's pretty solid. Thank goodness. Thank goodness that radio... You know, you think of the forms of mass communication, right? Radio was the first. Radio was out there long before television was. And one of the best professional moves I ever made was getting out of outdoor television to concentrate on outdoor radio. So, you never know where life is going to take you. That's the motto, too, of wild game chef extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar. And sometime in the very near future, Dave and I are going to shoot the breeze about how he got to where he is, because his background and his history and his story is very interesting. David, welcome back. How are you?
Really good, man. I hear that music in my sleep sometimes.
I know it. I did a segment with Charlie Rood here this morning on WSGW, and he started out with that music. I'm like, man, I hear this everywhere. Hey, before I forget, why don't we do this next week, because it'll be the first show in April. Let's not do a recipe like next week. Let's just shoot the breeze a little bit.
Okay.
We can do that. We've done that before a lot of times.
Yep, we have. I mean, as many years as we've been on, I'm sure we have.
How many years do you know when it was that you started with me on the TV show?
I think it was the Christmas show of '89. Does that make sense to you?
It does make sense to me, but we were both a little younger then.
Oh, and we had black beards.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, so what do you got for us this week, David?
Well, we got a rabbit with apples and cream, and we've done this with rabbit. We've done it with elk, with pheasant, venison, rough grouse. It's a great all-around recipe. So,
excellent.
This is about for 4 portions. You need 2 to 3 rabbits, cottontails preferably. Or you could use snowshoe also, but you wouldn't need as many. They're a lot larger animal. So you need a medium onion diced fine, 2 ounces at least of apple schnapps, or if you're opposed to using alcohol, you can use apple jelly to build up the flavor. 2 jars of brown gravy, beef gravy. Well, you need at least 2 apples peeled and sliced thin. Put that on the side. Maybe cover them over with a damp paper towel so they don't turn, because you're not going to put these in until near the end of the recipe. 2 ounces of heavy cream, olive oil to saute with, salt and pepper to flavor with, flour to dredge. And if you like, you could put this over noodles or rice, and it would just be a wonderful side dish with it. So you want to cut the rabbit up into serving size pieces. I would say at least 8 pieces per rabbit. Front legs, rib section, hind legs. So, and you're going to dip it in flour, and in a saute pan with a small amount of oil, brown it on all sides. Don't crowd it. You're going to have to maybe fry the rabbit up in 2 or more batches, depending on how big your pan is and how you're going to move it around in the pan. So you're going to, after you remove the rabbit, you're going to add the onions and saute for a couple of minutes slowly. You just want to break the flavor loose. And then you're going to put the rabbit back in a casserole. You probably should have done that in the beginning, but anyways, put it in a casserole. Add the apple schnapps to the pan and simmer that for just a couple minutes. As long as it's not too hot, it shouldn't flare up. Add the brown gravy, bring to a boil, and then have your oven set at 350 degrees, and then put the rabbit in there covered so that it kind of cooks through faster. So it's going to take at least an hour, maybe more, depending on the age of the rabbits. And then, say, after about 15 or 20 minutes before you're ready to serve this, you're going to add the apples and the cream and cook it for another 10 or 15 minutes until the apples are nice and tender. And you don't want to stir it too much because you don't want to break them apples up. You don't want to lose the integrity of the slices. So, and then after the apples are done and the rabbit is done, you can serve this over buttered noodles or some nice fluffy white rice, or maybe homemade biscuits even would be great. Good dish.
It sounds wonderful, Dave. You said if you're opposed to alcohol, you can use, I think you said jam or jelly. But when you use alcohol in a dish, doesn't it all burn off? Doesn't the booze all burn off?
Right. A lot of people might be opposed to that, though, if they're on the wagon or something like that and they're worried about it. But the jelly will suffice to bring up the apple flavor. You don't want mint jelly, because a lot of the apple jellies are mint flavored. You just want straight apple jelly, or, some of the specialty jelly jams shops would have a really nice one to really help you bring up the flavor.
Excellent, David. All right, so we appreciate that. I would send people to the King's Dish in Standish, where you are doing your cooking these days. And I think also you're going to join us as a guest for Wednesday Night Live at the Lumberjack on the 23rd, aren't you?
Yep, we got the last table. I spoke to the receptionist there, and she said, "Boy, you're in luck, Dave." She wanted to know if I was going to be doing any cooking. I said, "No, I'm going to go as a civilian this time."
Excellent. All right, David, I'll let you go. Good. We'll look forward to that. Wild Game Chef Extraordinaire Dixie Dave Minar, a big part of the Outdoor Magazine show, as are you. If you weren't listening, there'd be no reason for me to do this, and I would be very sad. My name is Mike Avery. This is the Outdoor Magazine show. My website, MikeAveryOutdoors.com. My email address is mike@MikeAveryOutdoors.com.